race fan, Brian Davis Races, and you can too. I was asked by Tour of America's Dairyland to put together a little video about bike racing 101 and spectating a bike race, commonly asked questions at bike races. And we got some questions. Question number 1, what's a breakaway? A breakaway is when 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that, about a couple of small select group of riders try to attack off the front. So they break away from the rest of the peloton, which is the major group of cyclists. That's what it's called. They break away. And the goal here is, can they put in a consistent amount of work at a slightly higher level than everyone else and get to the finish line at the end of the race when it counts before everybody else? It works sometimes, but it's risky. The advantage is you get a nice consistent pace line. You don't have to worry about surging up and down and having your pace dictated by somebody else. The disadvantage is you have to work really hard for a really long time versus just sprinting for the last 15 seconds of the race and maybe winning. So trade-off. Similar, related to a breakaway, that if you have a teammate in the race, the teammate in the peloton will try to disrupt the activity of the main group without impeding them or crashing them or getting in their way physically, but just kind of messing up their flow. And that will slow down the main group and allow your teammate who's in the breakaway up ahead a better opportunity to finish off their day. A call-up is when people have done really well in the race series so far, and they are given a special honor to be called up to be at the very front of the race at the start line. It's not a huge advantage. It's more of a ceremonial. It's a nice thing to do. It can be a slight advantage, but not a big one. Question. Really, a big part of bike racing is to see how little work you can do during the race and still finish well. That's really the goal. So if you're on the front, there should be a reason. Either you're pulling to make the race hard, so your teammate maybe in the back has an easier day, or you're trying to catch a breakaway because you don't have anybody in that breakaway, or you're a solo rider and you're trying to claw back that breakaway for whatever reason. So there are a few reasons why somebody would be on front, but generally speaking, if you're going to win the race, you don't want to be on the front a lot. But if you have teammates, that brings me to another point, and it's called drafting. So why don't you want to be on the front? Because whoever is on the front is usually burning about 30% more energy than the people behind them. So staying behind someone else is a great way to save a ton of energy. But sometimes you got to do some work too. It's a balance. Drafting. Really important part of the game. What is a prime? Prime, spelled prime, pronounced prime, is a prize that the race organizers give out throughout the race to keep things spicy. So they'll say, here's $20, here's $100, here's $10, whatever it is. On this particular lap, next person to come through on this lap wins $10, $20, a pair of socks, whatever it is. It's just a way to keep the race active and keep the racers so speaking of primes and bells, on the bell lap, that indicates that's the last lap. And so the ding, 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 ding tells everybody, get ready, this is the last lap. So race your little heart out on the last lap. They will also ring the bell on prime laps just to help you pay attention. But the last lap, bell lap, 1 to go, 1 to go, 1 to go. That's how you know there's 1 to go. Okay, great question. How long is the race? Crit racing is interesting. It's kind of a mix between laps and time. So the way it works is the race officials will time the first couple laps and figure out that, they're racing these laps in like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then they'll extrapolate that into how many laps would be left to reach the stated time period. So if we're racing for 50 minutes, 50, they'll let us go the first 5 or 6 laps. I'm sure there's an actual number for that. And they'll time how often that's taking on average. Then they'll take 2 minutes and 30 seconds times however many laps it would require to have us finish right on 45 minutes. And they are eerily accurate with that math. So that's how it's a mix of time and laps. So the time doesn't really matter. It's only the laps that matter. So they'll say 10 to go when there's 10 laps left. And that's really all that matters. So it doesn't really matter how long it takes us. It just matters who crosses the finish line first on the last lap.
5 to go, riders, 5 to go, 5 to go. 3 laps. 3 laps are.
Okay, so what happens when you have a crash? A crash is an interesting thing. If there's less than 5 laps usually, you're out of luck. Race over. But if you crash earlier in the race where there's like, say, 10 laps to go or another 25 minutes left in the race, you can work your way over to the pit area. You can get your bike sorted out, and sometimes there's neutral mechanics. Certainly at Tour of America's Dairyland, there's mechanics to help you sort out your bike. And then when the race comes around again, the official will let you back into the race. So you might lose out on 1 or 2 or 3 laps, but you can still get back into the race with no penalty, no problems. You can still win the race. So yeah, that's how that works. And that coincides with this next question of like lapped riders, right? So if you're racing and you're just not having a great day and the Peloton goes by you and they come around and lap you again, can you rejoin the Peloton and race with them? Yes, absolutely. There's a bit of a gentleman's agreement that you don't necessarily engage with the race at that point, but or lead the race or like animate the race, but you can. So it is possible, and there's a way to work that into your tactics. I would say it's generally not the coolest thing to do, though. What's with all the jerseys and like how much do you win if you win a bike race? So the jerseys are, if you win that particular day, you might win a jersey at a larger event like Tour of America's Dairyland, or if you're winning the series. Now the series introduces a longer conversation. There can be sort of races within a race. There's like a 40 plus category, a sprinter category, a category 2. Anyway, there's a lot of different races within the race, but the jerseys are something that you could win. And then say if you win the pro race, you might win like $400, $500 that you split typically with your teammates. But in the lower category races, you might win like a pair of socks. Well, that leads to another question is, what's a category anyway? When I say cat, that's short for category. So the way it works is everyone starts as a category 5, and then you race 10 times, and then you can be promoted to a category 4. And then depending on how you do in terms of results or races, you could move up from a 4 to a 3 to a 2 to a 1 to pro. That's the whole spectrum of beginner to professional. Cat 5. Can you bring your dog to Tour of America's Dairyland races? Absolutely. Should you? That's a different question. Let me ask you a little quiz first. Does your dog listen to anything that you say, or do you just yell at your dog and get no response? If you yell at your dog and get no response, I'd leave Fido at home. If you have some amount of training and control over your dog, bring the dog. But please, for the love of God, make sure that you keep that thing leashed and away from the course. So you might know that your dog doesn't leap into 30-mile-an-hour bike racers, but we don't know that when we're on the course. So when you're right next to the curb holding onto your dog, it gives me a panic attack every single lap. So yes, bring your dog, but please be respectful that not everybody loves your dog. In fact, no one loves your dog except you. You're the only one. Pretty caught up on bike racing now, and I really hope that you come out and watch us. It's an absolute blast having people yelling and screaming, and it pulls performances out of bike racers that they didn't even think was possible. So please, please do come to the bike races. Absolutely love to see you there. And if you have friends and family coming and you don't want to have to answer all these questions 100 times, please smash the like button on this video. Save the link, forward it to your friends that are coming to the race. I'd appreciate it. Last question. If you are so intrigued by bike racing and now you want to give it a shot yourself, what's the best way to get started? Best way to get started is to search in your area for cycling clubs or teams and see if you can just join them on a ride. Find somebody locally that you can talk to, stop by a bike shop in your area, ask them if they know anyone in the area that races bikes, and see if you can go for a ride with them and ask them all the questions that you have, or leave a comment down below and I will absolutely answer your question.